Federal government unveils oil and gas industry intervention tagged Project 100. Minister of Budget and National Planning, Udoma, is optimistic Nigeria's growth trajectory will increase in 2019. Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) set 7-year timeline to revive and develop commodities market, plus prospects of the agro industry and agribusiness in Nigeria getting brighter. Details of these and more on this edition of Business Express on the network service of the NTA. I am Muplang Dakok. The federal government says it plans to establish an entrepreneurial bank which will enable innovators access credit to start business. The Vice President Yemi Osinbajo stated this during a tour of some parts of Ondo Central Senatorial District in Ondo State.
60% less than the previous government, 60% less. Yet we're spending 2.7 trillion in 2 budget cycles on capital. We're looking at more concrete opportunities, So we're talking about the entrepreneurial bank to set up a bank which enables innovation or innovators to access credit. And we also want to be able to give small businesses, medium and medium scale businesses as well, real opportunities to be able to access credit and do more work.
The Minister of Budget and National Planning, Udoma Udoma, says he is optimistic that the Nigerian economy will continue to maintain its recovery in 2019. He said real GDP growth is expected to increase from 0.8% in 2017 to 3.01% in 2019, with sustained implementation of the ERGP. Udoma, who stated this at the Deloitte Dialogue on Nigeria's Economic Outlook for 2019, said the proposed budget for the fiscal year is intended to further reposition the economy on the path of faster, inclusive, diversified and sustainable growth. He said this will continue to lift significant numbers of Nigerians out of poverty. The minister explained that inflation is expected to trend downwards to single digit of 9.98% in 2019 from 11.44% as at December 2018. This will largely be driven by improved coordination of fiscal and monetary policies, exchange rate stability, improved oil export earnings and capital inflows, as well as the continuation of the current prudent management of foreign exchange reserves by the CBN. Meanwhile, the Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Emmanuel Ibe Kachiku, has unveiled an oil and gas industry intervention tagged Project 100. Lydia Sampson reports on the intervention and how it will impact on the economy when it fully takes off.
As part of the 7 big wins of the petroleum sector, the federal government initiated a scheme tagged Project 100. It is geared towards providing institutional support to 100 indigenous oil and gas service providers by nurturing them to become large-scale players. Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Dr. Emmanuel Ibe Kachiku, said the project is born out of the conviction of government to provide the needed platform for Nigerians to always excel.
We've been in oil exploration and production and distribution for over 60 years. And you're still finding that some of the real benefits in there are still, quite frankly, monopolized by foreign operated companies, as it were, whether it be service companies or engineering companies.
Key players in the industry described the project as an important milestone to further encourage local content in oil and gas sector that will create jobs and enhance technology development.
We contribute almost about 90% of our foreign exchange earning through the oil and gas sector, but the GDP figures are very low.
The minister inaugurated 60 selected companies to be transformed through structured capacity building and policy intervention as the first phase of the project. Some of the beneficiaries who commended the initiative promised to capitalize on the opportunity to further take Nigerian oil and gas to the global scene.
To discuss further on Project 100, we have in the studio an economist, Yushau Aliyu. Mr. Yushau Aliyu is one of our regulars on the program. Thank you very much for coming on the program today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, Let's begin this way. Project 100. Why Project 100? Being that, given the prevailing economic fundamentals.
You see, since 2017, when there was an oil and gas summit, there is an attempt by the NNPC to structure the industry. And that paved way to creating homegrown industries that can compete in capacity as well as in structure with other investors in the industry, looking further into the economy where petroleum is still contributing significantly to the growth and development of our economy. So this Project 100, if it is successful, it will help the capacity in the production of oil and gas in Nigeria as well as within the same continent in Africa. But more importantly, as described, if the structure is well organized and function efficiently, it will be more significant to the economy. Yeah, you have highlighted earlier that the growth level expected in our GDP is expected to rise in 2019. So if this capacity within 3 years period, using the medium-term expenditure framework and the economic recovery and growth plan of the government, as well as the activities of the NNPC, the liberalization of this industry, according to petroleum economists, is what will help the industry, and it is what is going to help the market, including OPEC. But the only contention is the situation where if the capacity is improving, some challenges may emerge, which we will look into them.
We'll get into that.
Thank you.
So the project is expected to help indigenous oil and gas companies. So what are the multiplier effects you see?
When you look at the history of the industry since 1977, when NNPC was fully structured, you realize that many industries outside the economy are benefiting more. And that paved way for a lot of corruption and corrupt tendencies. But if these industries are fully organized within the same economy, there is going to be internal control, and also there is going to be the checks and balances as far as capacity building is concerned. But more importantly, these industries as they are, if they are fully structured, like I said earlier, we are expecting the industry to be more efficient, and at the same time consumers to benefit more from the competition that may arise from the players.
Okay. Some people are of the view that when this project is fully harnessed, that many Nigerian companies will have a platform to showcase themselves. So what's your take about this?
You see, some of the fears entertained, which was before hindering the sector, is that the advent of electronic cars, the advent of U.S. shale is going to hamper the production of oil. But when you look at the reserve, the crude oil reserve in Nigeria, that's up to about 42 billion, and about getting to 40 billion. So if that is sustained, for instance, all fears of being maybe the players will play 1 or 2 games, which is normal in all economies, there is going to be effective competition, and that competition always brings the best out of producers, and also it will give the consumers more benefit. Look at, for instance, how PMS is being traded in Nigeria. You find a situation where company A is selling at 141, company B selling at 143, and at the same time, the proximity to the resources. Okay.
So how is it going to affect other sectors apart from the oil and gas sector?
The multiplier effect, as you rightly mentioned, is going to touch a lot of industry. Most of these medium and micro enterprises that will require a lot of energy. For instance, if these companies are liberalized, we are expecting the gas sector to produce more energy. And when energy is produced, we are expecting the price of energy to go down. And if the price of energy continues to go down, then more profit to the micro and small medium enterprises. And at the same time, there is going to be sustainability of the business. And when people are sustaining their business, we are expecting people to be more loyal. We are more patriotic in terms of citizenship.
Okay, so 60 companies are to take off immediately from that project. What would you advise to be the subsequent steps to be taken after the takeoff?
You see, in any scheme, there is what is called the immediate, and there is going to be the medium term. So in economies, the 60 is an average, it's a good score for the scheme to take off. And by having 60 at take-off stage, we're expecting better performance.
Okay. So do you envisage any challenges?
Yeah. There will be more challenge in more especially in competition with other foreign firms, because they are not going to sit down. We are having foreign capital coming in, and when foreign capital is coming in, it's coming with interest. And if it is coming with interest, it will now collide with the interest of developing indigenous companies. So government must be careful in setting interest rate as well as taking finances outside the economy.
All right. Thank you very much for your time,
Thank
Mr.
you very much.
Yeshao
Thank
Aliu. You're still watching Business Express on the network service of the NTA. Remember to send us your feedback via email businessexpress@nta.gov.ng. You can also reach us through Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now. And don't forget to use the hashtag BizX showing on your screen. And moving on, the prospects of the agro-industry and agribusiness sector in Nigeria is getting brighter, with the commissioning of an implementation office in Owerri, Imo State. Musa Abubakar reports that the office, manned by the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, is part of the federal government's policy on diversifying the economy by exploring opportunities in the non-oil sector.
The Nigeria Agribusiness and Agro-Industry Development Initiative is developed by the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment to harness the huge potential in the non-oil sector with a view to diversify revenue base for the growth and development of the country. Now, this office commission is to mobilize stakeholders in all the commodities to participate actively in order to reap the benefit of the program.
This, no doubt, will unlock the latent value in agricultural commodities for high premium prices at the international market, which will also enhance dynamism, competitiveness, and profitability of non-oil sector with a view to attracting significant domestic and foreign investment into Nigeria.
This is exactly what the states and the federal government needs to facilitate activities so that individuals of Nigeria will find their level in developing agriculture.
Just only to fetch us 50 times of what we get from food oil.
The scope of the initiative focuses on priority areas of agro-industry along the value chain as well as inspection services.
The Nigeria-Brazil partnership in food and production as well as processing will attract $1 billion investment, the largest in Africa. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and Brazilian ambassador to Nigeria launched the program in Abuja. The initiative, which is one of the products of the diversification initiative of the federal government, is expected to create jobs, food security and food self-sufficiency in all the 774 local government areas of Nigeria. Minister of Finance Zainab Ahmed and Brazilian ambassador to Nigeria explained the financial implication of the program and the profits for both countries.
Projects we are launching today will be implemented with a total loan package of $1.1 billion, largely from the Brazilian government, which will be disbursed in 4 tranches over a period of 2 years. It is imperative for me to state here that the greater percentage of this loan will be provided in kind through the supply of agricultural machineries and implements in the form of completely knocked down parts, CKDs. This arrangement is expected to reduce the fiduciary risks and create more employment opportunities for our teeming youth.
The initiative will contribute to create new jobs. We estimate around 5 million new jobs will be the impact of this initiative, reducing the rate of poverty, unemployment across the agricultural value chain, especially among the youth, by positioning the sector as the main earner of the Nigerian economy.
To further discuss on the Nigeria-Brazil partnership in agriculture is the Advisor Agriculture Interventions Coordination Office of the Vice President, Dr. Andrew Kwasari. Welcome on Business Express.
Thank you, madam.
Okay, could you lead us through the idea behind the Nigeria-Brazil program or partnership?
Well, the idea is basically was conceived by the Minister of Agriculture, Chief Audu Obe, in 2016, and he wrote and got permission from the President Muhammadu Buhari, to proceed to get Nigeria enrolled onto a program that will be enabled through bilateral negotiation, government to government, that could create a large-scale intervention with the private sector at the heart of it. So what it was meant to do is basically, how does government enable a kind of investment that will trigger or realize the potential in the agri sector.
Okay, so how is this program going to be implemented?
Well, the program is going to be implemented clearly with the private sector in the driver's seat. Okay. So it's going to be private sector oriented. Okay. Government is enabling. Therefore, government of Nigeria and Brazil has structured the loan, and these structuring has received approval both from the Brazilian and the Nigerian government. As you have mentioned earlier, that the Vice President, who is also chairing the economic management team, or who heads the economic management team, he and all the ministers have debated this extensively and have given their blessing to go ahead, such that government should enable the environment for a private sector-led intervention, where the burden of the loan will have guaranteed repayment, because private sector people would have run it efficiently.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the partnership is between Nigeria and Brazil.
That's correct.
So about how much are the two countries committing into this partnership?
Basically, Nigeria is borrowing about $1.1 billion in kind, largely machineries, equipment for factories, because the rationale is to create what we call service centers. These service centers will be in every local government, actually 774 plus 6 in FCT, so it's 780.
Okay.
Each of the area councils also is considered in the design, and all the work that has been done for all 780 local government areas. So this
Sorry to cut you short. Are there other financial institutions coming in this
Yes.
partnership?
So during the course of 3 years that this process has been ongoing, we have reached out to many other financial institutions, and clearly today there will be insurance of the or reinsurance of this loan by the Islamic Development Bank, the Insurance Corporation for Export of the Islamic Development Bank, and then the Deutsche Bank is also is co-funding together with the Development Bank of Brazil. So Development Bank of Brazil, the Deutsche Bank, and some reinsurance. Then there is the risk institution of Brazil called ABGF, is covering the risk of the loan to the Brazilian government, and is selling, reinsuring this risk, or getting a cover for it, or reinsurance from the Islamic Development Bank.
Okay, so how are smallholder farmers going to be able to access this loan facility?
I think the most important question really in this design is how will it benefit the smallholder farmers?
Okay.
This is the key. It's not whether or not they're benefiting directly, but is how, I mean, they're accessing the loan directly, but how does it benefit them? So the principle of the loan is that we have realized that lots of intervention in agriculture, particularly to support the smallholder farmer. Now, can a smallholder farmer own a tractor and run it and buy it on credit, even if it is subsidized, and effectively pay back? The answer is no, because the land needed for a tractor to walk through to be profitable per annum should be around average of 400 hectares, which is not the type of smallholder farmers we have in Africa. So it's therefore to put implements, equipment, tractors in an aggregated center, what we call the service center. Then there will be a service center operator who will then provide services to the smallholder farmers. So the smallholder farmers will benefit by getting lower cost of preparing their land, of planting, of harvesting, and also guarantee to save them from post-harvest losses where their produce are harvested as at when due, and then they are linked to the market. So we are creating a kind of system where there is a central guy who is an entrepreneur or a business guy who we call an operator of a service center. This has to be a clear business person who understands this, and he holds all of these implements, equipment, tractors in a center at a local government level close to the smallholder farmer. So what that mama needs with a small half hectare of land or whatever is just get her grandchild or granddaughter to reach to this operator or make a call and say, I need to plow my field, and a tractor comes, plows that field, calculates, and she pays only for that service as at when due.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Andrew Kwasari. We wish we had more time to discuss more on this. Maybe we'll call you some other time for more on that. And how much is the Naira trading for other international currencies? And next is a look at the commodity market. The Nigerian Stock Exchange closed trading Friday, the 1st of February 2019 on a positive note. The last trading day of the week, the all-share index appreciated marginally by 0.26% to close at 30,636.36 basis points, with market capitalization at 11.424 trillion naira. 260 million shares exchanged hands in 3,077 deals worth 4.219 billion naira. And this is where we wrap up today's episode of Business Express. Remember to send us your feedback via email businessexpress@nta.gov.ng. You can also reach us through Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now. And don't forget to use the hashtag BizX showing on your screen. Until we come your way again next week, Monday, I am Moplang Dakok.